Well, hi, Kylie.
Hi, Jason.
Welcome
Episode
to Go Round
3.
number 3.
I'm ready.
Fracking growth moments.
These ever-loving growth moments.
Ever loving growth moments. My God, I tell you, I'm having more fun with the name. I'm so happy about this.
I don't know that we've said it the same way twice, and that's probably a good indication that it's a lot of fun.
No, for sure, but also important stuff, right? And I just part of what I love it is I think it's both universal and something that we all connect to. So for this third chapter, what we're really talking about is I don't know if you were ever a fan of Seinfeld.
Oh, yes.
But, Kramer would say, "Serenity now."
Yes.
And as anyone that has ever sat near me in an office, they know that I will say, "Serenity now." Right? So this is about developing personal resilience. And I think one of the topics we're going to dive in today is some of the apps, right? I think this idea of mindfulness and resilience has sort of come into the digital space through technology. I know there's some apps that you're familiar with that kind of helps with this idea.
There are. I've used both Bootify and Headspace. Very similar, but definitely aligned in, and there are others. I think it's a rich space of a lot of different content here. Those are the two I'm most familiar with. What I love about these apps, Jason, is particularly you can take different pieces of your day, and a lot of the content aligns to moments you might be experiencing. So whether you're feeling pressure about a delivery, whether you're on a commute, whether you're tied to your screen, and you can kind of visualize this wheel of moments, whether you're having difficulty sleeping, that I think a lot of us have maybe faced anew amid some of the stressors of the pandemic, certainly, and the world crises. But so you can kind of select a meditation, and they're guided meditations, ranging from different times that can fit into your day to be able to allow you to take a intentional break and to be able to kind of reset where your feelings and your thoughts and your pressures might be, and kind of help to reground yourself in a way that I think a lot of us are not great at doing on our own. Being able to set one thing aside, be able to kind of refocus on what's important to us, on where we want to be, kind of lowering our level of stress and getting real intentional about that practice of being mindful and what you want to be mindful of. So I love the apps for their accessibility for people at any point, with a long amount of time, a short amount of time, all at our fingertips. It's an amazing piece of delivery to come from the technology that almost all of us carry, to be able to tap in at any point, to be able to say, what is it that I need now? And how can I help center myself in this moment?
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I think one of the things that you've touched on is, I think we're all getting pretty good at recognizing when we need to do something, but maybe not so great at being able to think of what is the thing to do. Right. And I think that some of the apps can help with, like, man, I am freaked the hell out. I need 10 minutes. App, tell me what to do.
Yes.
And I think there's such a wide variety right now of apps that are tapping into, like, philosophical practices like Buddhism, psychological practices around positive psychology, and even physical practices, around yoga and other sort of short workouts that can be used to kind of manage stress and kind of bring, serenity back into center. And so I think that the technology space there it's really great, and I think it's flourishing right now. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to find the app that is maybe kind of right for you.
Yeah.
So I think that this reminds me of, something that I was fortunate enough to learn through a group called Overlap 5 or 6 years ago. And it's this idea of emotional antidotes. And it's a little bit more complicated than than what I'm going to share today, but it comes out of very ancient Buddhist tradition. And it is remarkably consistent with very current neuropsychology, right? And, the notion is like, as marketers, we spend an awful lot of time thinking about, if a person feels a certain way, they will do a certain thing.
Right.
Right. And so in our business, we sort of learn that emotions can drive behavior. What is actually even more true and more powerful is that behavior drives emotion, right? So if I feel a certain way, I might do a certain thing. But a more powerful approach is to reverse it and say, if I can do certain things, it will create a certain feeling, right?
That's
so the first, right, like the first part about this idea of emotional antidotes is recognizing that doing creates feeling. The second part of this is that there are specific feelings that provide an antidote. There are positive emotions that provide an antidote to negative emotions, right? And so this isn't the full model, but these are the three that I think are most important. For any of us, if we can recognize that we are experiencing something like nostalgia, right? This longing for how things used to be, or envy, right? If you're in a part of the country where your kids are staying home for school, but your sister, brother, cousin, friend is in a part of the country where the kids are getting to go back to school, and you're feeling envy, right? Anything like nostalgia or envy or jealousy or any kind of pining for things to be different than the way they actually are. Mm-hmm. The antidote for that feeling is joy, is joyfulness, right? And so if you can recognize that you're feeling that way, figure out something that you can do that makes you feel joy, right? And I think a wonderful little practice about this is I think any of us can reflect on things that we enjoy. One of my friends over time has collected specific activities that create joy, and then she just has them written on scraps of paper in the joy bowl.
Oh, I love this.
Right? So She doesn't have to think of what to do. She's like, damn it, I'm feeling nostalgic. I'm going to pluck an activity from the joy bowl. I'm going to do that activity. And that joy is the antidote to the nostalgia or the envy or the jealousy or for the wishing that things were different than they actually are.
Oh, I love that.
So if you are experiencing nostalgia, your antidote is joy. And the behavior leads to the feeling. Here's the second one. If you are feeling angry or afraid or anything like that, or attached, right? Like you want things to be a certain way, but they're not, right? I think many of us are attached to the idea that at some point life is going to go back to normal.
Right. Yeah.
And we're afraid that it might not go back to normal. And when it does not go back to normal, because it never will, we may get angry about it, right? So anything like attachment or fear or anger, the antidote to that is compassion.
That surprises me.
So the antidote to anger is compassion. It turns out that attachment and fear and anger, those are the dark shadows. Those are the shadow versions of love. Right? And sort of compassion is like it's this crazy antidote, right? If for whatever reason, and it's never happened, if for whatever reason, like Kylie, I was mad as hell at you, right? If I could hijack that feeling and perform an action that helped engender a feeling of compassion for you, like the negative emotion just diminishes, it just vanishes.
Jason, I love that so much, both because you're not angry with me that we're needing to go through that life. But what I love about that is how real that feels, instead of the advice being like, look for the silver lining or pretend it's fine, or something that feels under the cover of fake it until you feel something differently. I love how authentic this is. This is saying intentionally look for things that counteract that are proven to be able to counteract it. And that, I love that.
Yeah. I mean, like these deliberate actions, right? An act of compassion as an antidote to fear or anger or attachment.
Yeah.
Right. An act of joy is the antidote for nostalgia or envy or jealousy. Yeah. And then this third one, feelings of like apathy or depression or anxiety, right? Which we know is like really, really common right now.
Right.
This is one of my favorites. It's about an act of love. It's about performing an act that allows you to feel, engenders, it sparks, it drives, it catalyzes a feeling of love for others, a feeling of love for that activity, a feeling of being loved. Like the act of love is the antidote to the feeling of depression or anxiety.
That's so powerful.
Right? And so, fill up your little bowl of slips of paper with acts of love. Fill up your little bowl with slips of paper for acts of compassion. Fill up your little bowl with slips of paper for acts of joy. And these are all things that we can actually do to help us go from feeling bad,
right,
to feeling strong. Right.
And I think highlight where we can act in the small to be able to turn the tide of where things are, to change that narrative of things happening to us or outside of our control, or faced with that ever-loving growth moment and saying, here are things we can do, here are actions we can take. And there's so much power in that I love that.
Yeah, like small actions all the time, right? Yeah. This isn't about big dramatic. This is about small little actions constantly and all the time, right? And I certainly find this to be super, super powerful. And that leads me to sort of our third topic for today, something that I use in my life constantly and all the time, which is mantras, right? Like, the title of our session today is Serenity Now.
Yes.
There's a mantra that I use all the time, right? It's just my shorthand for like, worry about what I can control. Don't worry about what I can't.
Yes. I think mantras get a bad rap. Like, if I think what I first, kind of pops into my mind about mantras, I remember that it's probably early 90s, that Saturday Night Live skit. They have the character who's, I'm going to forget his name, like Stuart Smalley, I want to say. And he does this like self-affirmation mantra in the mirror where he's like, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. And so like, I think when you see that as kind of a trope and the joke that goes along with it, I think it feeds into mantras getting a bad rap, and certainly the butt of many jokes, where I think they have a lot of power to be able to focus what we're thinking on, but then drive our actions and behaviors, and to your point, generate feelings associated with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's like, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, gosh darn it, people like me. Yes. Easy to make fun of, but it works for you, use it, damn it.
Right? Oh yes, gosh, anyone using this, please don't stop.
No, for sure. But I think the secret of this is to figure out what are the mantras that uniquely work for you, right? Like my three are very simple. Serenity now, feelings lie, right? We talked about that. Feelings lie. Those are feelings, they're lying. And the third one for me is this too shall pass.
I love that one.
When things are fantastic, this too shall pass.
Yes.
When things are terrible, this too shall pass.
Yes.
Right? Like, the change is constant. How we react to the change, how we respond to the change, how we grow through the change, that's what we get to control.
Yeah.
And my three mantras, this too shall pass, feelings lie, and serenity now. And I'm wildly encouraging of anybody to figure out, what three might be most useful to them.
Right. Yeah. I know for myself, one of the points when, a lot of fear or frustration or anxiety can come from looking out too far and things that we're not able to control. I remind myself, like, I have the strength for today. Like, they're going to come up tomorrow. I will then have the strength for that on that day. But today, I've got the strength for today. And it's just kind of a good way for me not to worry about. I don't have to worry necessarily. I don't have to fret unnecessarily for things that may or may not come to pass. But today, this day, I have exactly the strength I need for this day. And it takes a little bit to find, to your point, what works for you. And I think sometimes other people have insights into this as well, to be able to, either by sharing their own mantras or, observing things, to be able to say, share a few words of wisdom that may turn into someone else's mantra.
I have the strength for today. God, I love that one. I think that's maybe a good point to close, this episode around developing personal resilience. I think there's a lot of opportunity in the apps.
Yes.
I personally, find so much value in this practice of emotional antidotes. And then, the little mantras that we can remind ourselves to keep ourselves moving forward through these everlasting, God-forsaken, uninvited, no good, gum chewing, pasta eating, very bad, unwanted, but inevitable growth moments.
I think so too. We're all going to come out better and stronger on the other side.
I think so. So that's it for today. I'm Jason.
And I'm Kylie.
And I hope this helps.
Thanks, Jason.
Bye-bye.